When my husband and I got out of the car, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were excitedly asking my husband, "Hey Wyatt, what's with this car? That's amazing. I'm glad you finally decided to live on our side of society. But still, it's a bold move to buy such a luxury car out of the blue." My husband chuckled. "This is not my car, it's Claire's father's car," he uttered. What? My mother-in-law and sister-in-law exclaimed at the same time. Then my parents got out of the car and my in-laws were absolutely stunned when they saw them dressed like that. My sister-in-law whispered, "What an expensive-looking suit. And I've seen that outfit before. It's such a high-end brand. Why are Claire's parents wearing such expensive stuff?" she asked, dumbfounded. "My name is Claire. I'm a 28-year-old office worker. I married my husband Wyatt last year. He has always been kind to me since we've been dating, and he's always taken good care of me. I was so happy to be able to marry him. We share the household chores because we both work. My husband has lived alone for a long time and is perfect at doing house chores. He is a better cook than I am, depending on what we cook. We support each other and live a very happy life. However, there are people who stand in the way of our happy married life. My in-laws. They assume that I'm poor and say whatever they want to bully me. Why do they assume that I'm poor? I think it was probably because of the dinner party where we greeted each other's families before our marriage. My in-laws are a family of 4. My parents-in-law, sister-in-law, and my husband. My father-in-law was a banker and was reasonably wealthy. Everything he wears has a brand name. They seem to think that wearing expensive things is a status symbol. By the way, my husband was the only one in the family who was not interested in such things. He buys second-hand clothes on the internet and wears them to the point that he thinks they are already worth the original price. So when I met my in-laws for the first time, they had personalities and tastes that I couldn't imagine from my husband. I even wondered if my husband was adopted. It seems that the reason why my husband lived alone for so long is because he didn't share the same values as the rest of his family. He started living alone as soon as he entered college. Because my in-laws thought that being rich was what mattered most. When they met me and my parents for the first time, I got a very bad impression of them. My father runs a small factory. As soon as they found out, my in-laws and sister-in-law made fun of him. He runs a factory, and yes, he might be a president, but a factory with a name I've never heard of must be poor for sure, my mother-in-law said dismissively. A big bank where I work would never give him a loan, she added. To speak in such an abusive manner, even though this was the first time we met, I questioned the character of my in-laws. I would have been furious if my husband had not apologized to me in advance. My parents had also been briefed by my husband on the situation, so they were calm even when my in-laws made fun of us. My father said calmly, "Well, it's true that we run a small business, but thankfully we're able to continue working. We're able to pay our employees' salaries." My father-in-law sneered, "I wonder how many employees you have. Oh, by the way, I heard Claire has an older brother." My mother replied, "Oh, our son is working today, so unfortunately he won't be able to join us." My sister-in-law chimed in, "Is he on a business trip or something? Does your brother work for a decent company?" "Our son works for my company," my father responded. When my father said that, the in-laws all laughed at once. "You mean it's a family business? A family that can't even take a day off must not be running the business very well," my mother-in-law jeered. They kept saying terrible things about my family. My husband repeatedly told them to stop their behavior, but they ignored him completely. Eventually, he had to insist that they leave. Because of this, I developed a poor opinion of my in-laws, especially since they had mocked my family. To be honest, some people might cancel the marriage if something like this happened, but I love my husband more than that, so I decided to marry him. As long as I don't get involved with my in-laws, we can live peacefully and happily. In fact, my husband doesn't like his family either, and I was quite angry at them for making fun of my family. Because of this, we didn't visit my in-laws unless we really needed to. But about a year after we got married, I guess they got tired of us not showing up at all. They started to force us to get involved with them. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law came to our house often. They said whatever they wanted to say. My mother-in-law complained, "Wyatt doesn't come home at all. Claire's trying to stop him from going, isn't she?" My sister-in-law added, "I'm sure she is, because she would be so jealous of our lives." "Well, I don't blame you," my mother-in-law continued. We have a different standard of living than the poor, but I hope you will at least have a baby soon. If you don't produce an heir, you'll turn out to be just a parasite wife who wants to get rich, she declared in an insulting tone. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law came over for a short time, from the moment I got home from work until my husband returned. I get home early because I have a job that basically allows me to leave on time, but my husband has to work overtime, so he usually gets home a little before 9 p.m. So, within about 3 hours, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law would come over to pick on me. You live in a really modest apartment, my sister-in-law commented. Wyatt works for a good company. You should live in a nicer house, she judged. My husband and I think it's big enough for us, so, I began. Not your husband, but you, right? My mother-in-law interrupted. Don't impose your values on Wyatt, she demanded. There's a lot of plain stuff in the fridge, my sister-in-law remarked, opening it without permission. Don't look in the fridge without permission, I snapped. You don't have caviar or fine wines? She asked, ignoring me. We don't have anything like that, I replied. Oh, it's so boring, my mother-in-law sighed. Why did Wyatt marry this woman? A poor, wealth-seeking, boring woman is a verity. You could say that. But if you try to touch our money, even a little bit, you'll be sorry. We'll erase you from society, she concluded. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law would make fun of me, threaten me, ridicule me, and then leave. I would talk to my husband about it and he would scold them, but they continued to come over without showing any sign of remorse. They ambushed me at my apartment when I came home. I felt depressed to come home every time. How on earth could they get tired of picking on me? But my mother-in-law and sister-in-law kept trying to bully me. I had a mental breakdown. I tried to pass the time at a cafe until my husband finished work. Then I would go home with my husband. When my mother-in-law and sister-in-law saw me coming home with my husband, they said, "You're like a pest, taking away Wyatt's freedom like that." It's actually more disgusting that they waited outside for 3 hours and tried to agonize me. My husband was so disgusted that he even went so far as to ask my father-in-law for help. My husband talked to my father-in-law, but he is just like my mother-in-law. He said that a poor wife is a rarity for them. If things continue as they are, our marriage will be threatened. I decided to use the last resort. I know it's not something I'm very fond of doing, but my in-laws have made me angry, so I will not relent. A few days later, my husband and I went to visit my in-laws. They were over the moon when we told them that we would be coming together, but when we arrived, I was horrified to hear my mother-in-law saying, "I'm so happy to see Claire for the first time in a long time." Apparently, the hypocrisy gave her great pleasure. Later, we went to my in-laws' house for the weekend. When we arrived by car, my in-laws rushed out of the house and excitedly asked my husband, "Hey Wyatt, what's with this car? That's amazing. I'm glad you finally decided to live on our side of society." But still, it's a bold move to buy such a luxury car out of the blue, isn't it? My husband chuckled and said, "This is not my car, it's Claire's father's car." My in-laws froze for a moment. What? My mother-in-law and sister-in-law said at the same time. Then, my parents got out of the car. My in-laws were absolutely stunned when they saw the two of them dressed in expensive-looking suits. My mother-in-law whispered, "I've seen that outfit before. It's such a high-end brand. Why are her parents wearing such expensive stuff?" she uttered perplexedly. Finally, my brother got out of the car, 6 feet tall, standing like a model. My sister-in-law's eyes lit up when my brother came out wearing the same high-end brown suit as my father. She asked, "Who is that handsome guy?" "Nice to meet you," my brother said confidently. "My name is Marshall, Claire's brother," he added. My in-laws were frozen in amazement at my family, who were completely different from the last time they saw me. Seeing this, my husband urged, "What are you all doing standing around? Quickly, show my family around the house." My mother-in-law and sister-in-law hurriedly invited my family inside. They showed them into the living room and said, "We'll have tea ready for you right away." Their attitude was the complete opposite of before. They seemed very curious, and eventually asked my parents, "How are you able to wear such luxury items?" I found their behavior ridiculous. They were so quick to change their attitude just because of one's appearance. Then my father explained, "My factory may be small, but the parts we make have the only patent in the world. We receive orders from large American companies as well as foreign companies, he concluded. My father's answer made the in-laws' faces turn blue. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law started to be very nice to me. My father-in-law was silent the whole time and didn't say a single word. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law was quite interested in my brother and began to chat him up. "What kind of work do you do at your father's company?" she asked. Marshall replied, "I know several languages well, including Chinese. I'm currently in charge of organizing business meetings with overseas companies, so I spend half of the year abroad," he added. "Well, that's very cool. Are you single, Marshall?" my sister-in-law inquired, her interest clear. "Yes, I'm married," Marshall answered. "That's too bad," she said, undeterred. "But I think I'm a better match for you than your wife. What do you think? If you're interested, why don't we go out for dinner?" my sister-in-law suggested. She was making a fierce move on my married brother right in front of me and my parents. To be honest, I was impressed by her audacity, but I decided it was time to put an end to it. My brother looked at me and nodded before turning back to my sister-in-law. "Ha! Me with an ordinary girl like you? Are you kidding? You're a funny girl. Are you seriously saying that you're more desirable than my wife? My wife is a former model, highly educated, and the daughter of the president of a famous company. No matter how you look at it, you're not on her level. It's funny how some people misjudge their position, isn't it? I'm not trying to be mean, but you should know your place and follow a solid path," he uttered. My brother's words hit home, and my sister-in-law was left in a groggy state, on the verge of fainting. She was so shocked she could no longer speak. Finally, my father turned to my in-laws and said, "I don't really care how wealthy other families are. Money is important, but you can't measure a person's worth by it alone. Let's be human and not obsessed with money." "I'm sorry we were a little harsh today," he apologized. My father then bowed his head in apology. My in-laws were completely taken aback and quickly bowed to my father in response. Since then, they have never tried to bully me. In fact, they now regularly contact me to flatter me, which I find a bit bothersome. For the record, neither my parents nor my brother are the kind of people who dress up in luxury brands and brag about their wealth. They just went along with my plan this time. My father prefers to wear a suit he's had for a long time, even if it's cheap, and he's not interested in luxury. My brother is very kind and doesn't look down on people. That's why his wife's father likes him so much, and even asked him to take over the company because he's a better heir than his eldest son. I'm sorry I put my family through something they weren't used to. Everyone was extremely tired on the way home. However, I was able to return to a peaceful married life with my husband. I have not visited my in-laws since then, but my husband visits them at least during Thanksgiving and Christmas. After that event, my in-laws have changed their ways. They seem to have lost confidence, or maybe they just repented. They don't brag about being rich like they used to. My husband even says he feels more comfortable with them now. I'm not sure if they'll go back to their old ways again, but for now, I'm just glad that the problem has been successfully resolved. I will continue to take care of my husband and my family, and I'll try to live my life with a sense of modesty. They thought they were on top, but actually, my family had much more wealth than they did. The in-laws should be ashamed of themselves. I would feel like a small person if I kept trying to show off to those with less. I don't think truly wealthy people would do such a thing. I'm glad that we were able to teach my in-laws a valuable lesson. I hope we can continue to live in harmony with them every day.